Hello and welcome back to QB Sports. Today I have some great NFL content ready for you. Before we get into the topic of today's video, I want to thank you for the support on the last video, and also Zach Boychuk, a former NHL player, apparently liked my post on Instagram. Go follow me at QB Sports _ on there. Link will be in the description. So if that's correct, thank you, Zach. And now let's get into today's video. So today I will be talking about some major storylines from week 15 of the NFL season, as well as some awards predictions. Now, there are only 2 more weeks left in the NFL season, so normally I would have likely done these awards predictions a few more times. However, seeing as I just started this podcast, I thought it would be smart to do one before the end of the season. So let's get right into the video, starting with the major storylines from the NFL's week 15. The first big storyline of the NFL's Week 15 has to be the New York Jets getting their first win of the season. The Jets headed into Week 15 0-13 and facing the 9-4 LA Rams. It was expected to be another loss for the Jets, and the Rams would improve to 10-4. However, the Jets pulled a stunning upset, beating the Rams 23-20. Unfortunately for the Jets, because of that win, they no longer hold the first overall draft pick. The Jets are now tied with the Jacksonville Jaguars at 1-13. As of right now, the Jaguars have the tiebreaker, as according to the strength of schedule, the Jaguars have played easier teams, and therefore they have a better chance of having the better record than the Jets, compared to the Jets' chance of having a better record than the Jags. If that sounds confusing, don't worry, there are plenty of websites that will give you a good explanation of what strength of schedule is and how it applies to the draft order when used as a tiebreaker. Now, plenty of Jets fans were disappointed with the win, as they were hoping they would go 0-16 and get that first overall draft pick to draft Trevor Lawrence, who already looks like he will be a franchise quarterback, possibly the best quarterback in the game, and even maybe the best player in the NFL. However, some Jets players had some words to say on that. Mekhi Becton said that Jets fans should still want them to win, and that you ain't really a fan if you don't want us to win, honestly. Personally, tanking is an extremely controversial and also an extremely interesting subject. At the start of the season, as a fan, you should never want your team to suck and tank. You should always be cheering them for them to win, no matter how good or bad they look. However, let's say, for example, 2/3 of the way through the season, they are eliminated from playoff contention. For example, for the Jets, that would have been around, say, week 10, week 11, when they were 0-10. There, I would say it's okay to be happy or at least not be sad when your team loses. As a fan, I would much rather my team get the first overall draft pick than, say, the 10th, as the guy they get with the first overall pick will almost certainly be better than the player with the 10th, and that player will improve their chances of winning the next season more. And for me, as a fan, I always want to see wins. I would much rather see my team go 0-16 one year and then, say, 8-8 the next, than go 5-11 one year and then, say, 4-12 the next. So overall, tanking should never be the goal at the start of the season, but once your team is eliminated from playoff contention, I would say it's okay to cheer against them, or at least not be sad when they lose, as long as you are right back wanting them to win as soon as the next season starts. Now, moving on to the second huge storyline in Week 15, and that will be the Buffalo Bills clinching the AFC East. Now, some of you may think I'm biased, as I am a Bills fan, but this has definitely got to be one of the 3 major storylines. First of all, it's the Bills' first division title since 1995. Heading into the season, the Bills were the 5th most recent team to win the AFC East, and there are only 4 teams per division. The Indianapolis Colts, who are currently in the AFC South, had won the AFC East more recently than the Bills. Even with Tom Brady leaving the Patriots, there are still quite a few people picking the now 6-8 Patriots to beat the Bills and win the division. Not only have the Bills clinched the AFC East, but they have also won 4 straight and are heating up at the perfect time. They have even claimed the 2 seed in the AFC, which is the perfect segue into the next huge storyline. As you can probably guess, the third big storyline of Week 15 is the Pittsburgh Steelers losing their third straight game. So the Steelers started out 11-0, despite what a lot of people saw as kind of a mediocre team. That hot stretch had a lot of people putting them in their top 3 teams for their power rankings. However, the Steelers then lost to the Washington football team, and a lot of NFL fans started to say that maybe they were some pretenders and they had an easy schedule. Steelers then lost to the Bills, but I would argue that that's not that significant, seeing as the Bills are certainly a top 5 team in the league. However, heading into Week 15, the Steelers were still 11-2, still in second place in the AFC, and were expected to rebound against the 10-1 Cincinnati Bengals. However, this Bengals pulled an upset worthy of the Jets, beating the Steelers 27-17 and dropping the Steelers to 11-3. Because of that loss, the Steelers are now the 3rd seed in the AFC. As I've said before, the Bills are in the 2nd seed, and the Bills have the head-to-head tiebreaker. Not only are the Steelers now in the 3rd seed, they may not even win their division. They have a very tough end to the season. They play the 10-4 Colts in Week 16, which will be a good test for them, and then they finish against the 10-4 Browns. The Browns are second in the AFC North, while the Steelers are first. And they play the Jets in Week 16. The Browns will almost certainly beat the Jets, making it super important that the Steelers beat the Colts. The Steelers lose to the Colts, and the Browns beat the Jets. Then the winner of the Steelers-Browns game will take the AFC North, and my money would be on the Red Hot Browns rather than the Steelers team that will have lost 4 straight. So, not only is the once 11-0 Steelers now losing 3 straight a huge storyline, but the AFC North, which once looked like an easy win for the Steelers, has now become a very interesting race with only 2 weeks left in the NFL season. Those are my 3 major storylines for Week 15 of the NFL season. Some other major ones include the Atlanta Falcons blowing another huge lead this season, and this time to Tom Brady once again. Tough luck, Falcons fans. Tough luck. And with the storylines out of the way, we will now move on to the award races for the NFL. So, starting off with the MVP, and for me, right now, the winner will have to be Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers has been amazing this year for the 10-3 Packers. He has a 69.6 completion percentage, 3,828 passing yards, 40 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions, an insane ratio. Rodgers has also done it with a lackluster wide receiver and tight end core. Devontae Adams has for sure been a top 3 wide receiver this season, but aside from him, they kind of have a mix of wide receiver 3s and 4s, as well as an okay starting tight end. Rodgers has certainly been the face of the Packers this season, and he is the reason why they are so good. Now, the runner-up for the MVP has to be Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes has led the Kansas City Chiefs to a 13-1 record. He's posted 4,462 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, and only 5 interceptions. However, Mahomes has the benefit of a great team around him, featuring guys like Travis Kelce, second in the league in receiving yards, and Tyreek Hill, widely known as the fastest player in the NFL. The fact that Mahomes has a better surrounding core around him than Rodgers is why Aaron Rodgers deserves to win the MVP more this season than Patrick Mahomes. Third place in the MVP race, I have Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Again, you might call me biased, but Allen has led the Bills to an 11-3 record. He has a 68.7 completion percentage, up from 58% from last year, 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions. If there is a most improved player of the year, I would say he would definitely be one of the top 3 guys for that as well. and he has just been amazing for the Bills. His improvement has been one of the main reasons why the Bills are as good as they are right now. Some other contenders are Russell Wilson, who was the early frontrunner but has fallen off, although he has had some great games of late, and Deshaun Watson, who would be higher on this list if he didn't play for a terrible team in the Houston Texans. Now, moving on to the Offensive Player of the Year, and this I have Patrick Mahomes winning. I would say, in terms of pure offense, he has just been the best. I mean, there is the argument again that he has a ton of help around him, but I mean, he's leading the league in passing yards, and it isn't really close. 36 touchdowns is top 3 in the league. 5 interceptions is 3 more than it was 2 weeks ago after his 3 interception game against the Dolphins. And that's also a reason why he probably dropped in MVP, but he's just been astounding offensively and should win Offensive Player of the Year. The runner-up, I have Derrick Henry, the running back for the Titans, on 321 rushing attempts. He has 1,671 rushing yards, which is 5.2 yards per carry, to go along with 15 touchdowns. He's been an animal. He stiff-armed Josh Norman into oblivion earlier in the season. Recently, he stiff-armed the Lions' Alex Mayers, and he has just put the Titans on his back and is carrying them to the postseason. Third for Offensive Player of the Year, I have Travis Kelce, tight end for the Chiefs. And this is probably a big reason why Mahomes shouldn't win MVP. It's just because of the help. Kelce is second in receiving yards, 98 receptions, 1,318 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns. Been an animal this season, by far the best tight end. And he is a huge reason, along with Mahomes and guys like Tyreek Hill, why the Chiefs are so good. Some other contenders are Devontae Adams, who, until he missed a couple of games with injury, would have been a bit higher on this list. He has been great. And then, obviously, Aaron Rodgers. For Defensive Player of the Year, I have TJ Watt winning it. Watt has been an animal as an edge rusher. He has 13 sacks, 24 tackles for a loss, 1 interception, and 1 forced fumble. He was neutralized a bit recently, especially against the Bills, but he still has just been amazing this season and should win Defensive Player of the Year. For runner-up, I have Xavier Howard with 9 interceptions, 45 tackles, and 1 forced fumble. That 9 interceptions is just crazy. Howard has been a beast defensively at the cornerback position. Huge part of that Miami Dolphins team. And third, I have Aaron Donald, and you just can't put up a Defensive Player of the Year list without having this guy on it. Another fantastic season from him. 12.5 sacks, 17 tackles for a loss, 4 forced fumbles. Face of the LA Rams defense, along with Jalen Ramsey, I guess. Some other contenders, Tyrann Mathieu and J.C. Jackson, I would say. But really, I would say it's between Watt and Howard, with Donald being Aaron Donald. And for the Offensive Rookie of the Year, I have Justin Herbert winning it. He has put up a 66.5 completion percentage, 3,781 yards, and 27 touchdowns. Unless he doesn't get a passing touchdown in his final 2 games, he will break the rookie record for most passing touchdowns in a season. Phenomenal season. And as a runner-up, I have Justin Jefferson, 73 receptions, 1,182 yards, 7 touchdowns. Great player for the Minnesota Vikings. That was a really win-win trade between the Bills and the Vikings. Diggs helps the Bills out more than Jefferson would right now. Diggs also had some chemistry problems in Minnesota, and Jefferson has just been amazing there. So win-win trade. Moving on to Defensive Rookie of the Year, and this is probably one of the closest races. I have Chase Young winning it. He's been fantastic, living up to that second overall pick. 5.5 sacks, 9.5 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble return for a touchdown. But after Young, it's close. I mean, Patrick Queen, Jeremy Chin, I would say are 2 and 3. I don't know the order. Queen has put up 98 tackles, 3 sacks, 9 tackles for a loss, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble returns, and 1 fumble return for a touchdown at the linebacker position. Whereas Chin, a safety, has put up 101 tackles, 1 sack, 3 tackles for a loss, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble returns for a touchdown. So really close. Both have been tremendous at their positions. Obviously, it's understandable why Queen has more sacks, more tackles for a loss than Chin. And by the end of this ranking, I will have them listed at 2 or 3. Some other contenders will be Julian Blackman, who started off really hot, has kind of tailed off, although mostly it's been due to some strong performances by guys like Young, Queen, and Chin. And then Antoine Winfield Jr. of the Buccaneers. And I will go with Jeremy Chin at number 2, Patrick Queen at number 3. 1, 2, and 3 are all super close. And a good game or two from Blackman and Winfield Jr. could definitely see them move up the rankings too. Now for comeback player of the year, this one is a no-brainer for me. It has to be Alex Smith. He's the only guy who I would really even consider. I mean, people are saying Big Ben should win it, but you just look at the differences of what they've done. Usually comeback of player of the year is someone like Roethlisberger, who has an injury one year, a bit of a down season as well, and then comes back and is back to being a top 10 player at their position, like Roethlisberger has done. However, what Alex Smith has done is just so incredible. I mean, to have a life-threatening injury and to rebound and 2 years later not only be living life normally, but to be playing football games in the best American Football League in the world is just incredible. And for that, there's no chance that anyone else should win Comeback Player of the Year. And finally, Coach of the Year. This one was not a debate until recently. Mike Tomlin was expected to win it, but 3 straight losses has definitely dropped him down the rankings. My Coach of the Year has to go to Ron Rivera of the Washington football team. This was expected to be another terrible year for the Washington football team, even if and when Alex Smith returned. But they have really turned it around. 6-8 may not seem like a great record, mostly because it sucks, but compared to last year, it's much improved. And they're actually leading the NFC East, which isn't saying much, but still they're leading the NFC East. For runner-up, I will go with Brian Flores. Similar thing to Rivera. The Dolphins were not expected to do anything this season, but instead they're 9-5 in a playoff spot, although I personally have them dropping out of it in the last 2 weeks of the season. But still, great turnaround from them, and Flores definitely is in contention. And finally, in third place, I have Mike Tomlin of the Steelers. He still has to be mentioned just because, again, they were not expected to do great. They were basically kind of thought to be a mediocre, like 8-8 team. Instead, they went 11-0. While they are 11-3 right now, I personally think they will finish 12-4. I don't actually know if they're going to win the AFC North, but still, Tomlin definitely deserves to be mentioned on this list for his work with the Steelers. Some other candidates will have to be Andy Reid, just because how good the Chiefs are, and Kevin Stefanski for his turnaround of the Browns, finally making them look like a team that everyone thought they actually might be a year ago, 2 years ago. And then Sean McDermott, who has been fantastic with the Bills, not only continuing to lead them to the playoffs, but they are much improved from last year, in my opinion. So that will do it for my awards predictions. Once the season is over in 2 weeks, I will do another awards predictions as well as my full playoff predictions, so keep on the lookout for that. So that wraps up this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions for future topics, I have a few in mind, but I would always be open to suggestions. And with that, thank you for listening. Follow me on Instagram, link in the description. Again, I'm doing a simulation league on NHL 21. That link will be in the description as well. and I will see you in my next podcast. Bye.